Hey there, YouTube. This is Mr.Lubufu, and welcome back to another episode of MTG Mastery. There's been a bit of a hiatus, but now we're back, and we're going to go ahead and talk about the lore of Odyssey block. So, Odyssey is set on the continent of Ataria on the devastated plain of Dominaria about a century after the events of Apocalypse. Kamal, a strong warrior mage from the Pardic Mountains, arrives to Cabal City at the beginning of the story, lured by a mysterious call that spurs him to fight in the pits. There he befriends a young Kabbalist, Chainer, and a centaur from Crosa, Seton, who have come to plead for his forest, ravaged by the encroaching civilization. Other characters also fight in the competition, mainly Lieutenant Kirtar, who's a representative of the Order, and Turg, a frog slave controlled by the merfolk ambassador Laquatus. Laquatus is plotting against everyone at the same time, smuggling cephalid troops in the city, but preparing to backstab the Emperor. His goal is a magical sphere whose lure drew Kamal to the city. Before the main event, in which the winner can ask for any prize, a Crozan dragon attacks the city, prompting a response from all the fighters assembled. Despite Kamal being the one who dealt the killing blow, he remains pinned down underneath the carcass, and Kirtar takes the glory instead. He is offered a reward, and he takes the sphere that is calling to him. He can see in it great visions of battlefield valor, and decides to leave for the Order's headquarters in order to show it to Piana. Kamal and Seton follow behind him, as does Laquatus. The merfolk ambassador, with the help of a brainwashed Order knight, reaches the lieutenant and his captain before the duo can, and is greeted in the Order encampment. Kirtar shows the sphere to Piana, claiming that it can bring them victory, but she is suspicious and commands him to hand it to her. The Aven reluctantly complies and plots a coup, as Laquatus also schemes to steal the artifact. When Kamal finally arrives at the city, after leaving his friend behind to nurse an injury, several plans unfold at the same time. Kirtar tries to gain control of the Order with the sphere, but its power is too much for him, and devastation ensues, leaving him and Piana dead, and the city in ruins. Kamal struggles in the rubble to recover the artifact, but Turg takes it with the intent of taking it to Laquatus. With no other choice, the barbarian tries to follow the trail of the sphere. Laquatus, however, doesn't have it yet, as his slave was forced to relinquish it to a cephalid soldier who immediately left to go to the Abishan, the Emperor. The merfolk returns to the capital seemingly as a loyal subject, but waiting for an opportunity to betray his sire. He plays into his fears, creating a state of crisis and panic as Lawan, the estranged empress, appears to challenge Aboshan's rule. In the meantime, Laquatus frantically searches for the sphere in the imperial treasury with the help of Fulla, a Cabal Dementis he met while he was in Cabal City. Kamal, realizing that the sphere is underwater, has momentarily settled in Bourbon, a coastal town, waiting for the situation to develop. One day, Aboshan feels an unknown call and gets the sudden urge to visit his treasury. There, he stumbles on the sphere, which is revealed to be named the Mirari. The artifact gives him a vision of a landless sea, and he attempts to make it true by unleashing its power. Like Kirtar before him, he cannot control it and causes widespread disaster and devastation, submerging a third of Ataria and destroying his capital. Laquatus and Fulla manage to stop him before the damage is too great, at the cost of Turg's life. The seat of Mer's power in ruins, the Kabbalist and the ambassador leave for the Cabal City, carrying the Mirari with them. Kamal, who survived the inundation, also set for the same destination. At this point, Odyssey story takes a break, and we get a bit of a flashback, and it's mainly told from the point of view of the Kabbalist we met earlier, Chainer. One day, wandering in the outskirts of Cabal City, he finds an artifact of immense power whose call lures him to it. Despite the temptations of the orb, he decides to hand it to the head of the Cabal, the Patriarch, otherwise known as the First, who is impressed with Chainer's loyalty and abilities. He realizes that the artifact is calling many people to Cabal City, including Laquatus, Kirtar, but most importantly, the barbarian Kamal. He senses that the warrior will play a crucial role in the story and orders Chainer to make sure he is welcomed in the pits. Kamal and Chainer quickly become friends. The barbarian respects the other's guile and ingenuity, while the Kabbalist admires his strength and passion. They are separated, though, following the devastation caused by the crows and dragon. Kamal, along with Seton and Laquatus, leave after Kirtar, who came in possession of the Mirari. Chainer resumed his training as a dementia summoner under his master Skellum, whom he loves deeply and considers a mentor and a father. A while later, Kamal returns as Fulla and Laquatus escape the Mare Empire, devastated by Abushan's misuse of the Mirari. Abushan's wife Lawan claims the Throne of the Seas, a title that the Mare Ambassador considers his. The orb is returned to the First, who decides to put it as a prize in the upcoming Cabal Anniversary Games. Chainer and Cabal fight together in the pits in preparation for the event, forming an unstoppable duo. While the two train and Chainer continues his Dementious initiation, the other characters plot. Laquatus starts a civil war within the Mare Empire, with the main theater of war being the Abushan Trench, the section of the Otarian continent submerged by the former emperor's devastation. As the conflict escalates, it becomes increasingly clear that the victor of this battle will be the ruler of the ocean. To secure political support, Laquatus schemes with both the Order and the Cabal, promising to each what they desire while advancing his own cause. The Order tries to infiltrate Cabal City to rid it of the Cabal, while the First promises the ambassador a new Jack, since Turg died while stopping Abushan, and at the same time, he tries to control the Order. In his plotting, he sacrifices Skellum, who dies in the pits to appease them. Chainer, however, is left devastated by his death. The Dementious decides to go on with the final ritual anyway, even without his master, and substitutes Kamal for his deceased friend. Together they travel to Krosa to complete his training, and he becomes a full-fledged Dementia summoner. With his newfound powers, he is able to master the Mirari, seemingly without being overwhelmed by it. On orders from the First, he creates a new fighting servant for Laquatus, the synthetic Burke. The Patriarch is very impressed with Chainer's progress, and together they wreak havoc on the Order's camp outside the city, defeating them temporarily. Chainer, however, plots revenge for the death of Skellum, and using information gained by Laquatus, he disarms and renders the Patriarch harmless. He then tries to kill him using the artifact, but finds he is unable to. He therefore banishes him to Ophedo and forces him to nominate Chainer as the new head of the Cabal, and makes him leave control of the city to him. Chainer installs as the new leader and shows increasing signs that the Mirari is corrupting him. He gifts Laquatus with an army of dementia monsters for his help. The Cabal Anniversary Games proceed as planned, becoming only a show for the glory and entertainment of Chainer. His control of the dementia creatures becomes more unstable, and soon the city is overrun with them. In its center, in the pits, stand Chainer in his gleeful folly. At the same time, the monsters are winning Laquatus' war in the Abushan Trench. Kamal attempts to stop his mad friend by offering a fight between them, but Chainer is no longer able to think straight. He summons all of his creations within himself, leaving Laquatus without an army, and then tries to release them to fight Kamal. However, the spell went horribly wrong, as the Mirari's power finally overwhelmed him, replacing Chainer's entire body with a writhing mass of dementia creatures. The instability and pain of this form was far too much for anyone to handle. As Chainer regains some of his sanity, and with the last gasps of his life, he realizes that the Mirari cannot be controlled, and makes Kamal promise to take it and keep it safe, away from the misuse, and he dies moments later. With no army, Laquatus and his mercenaries are utterly defeated in the Aboshan Trench, and Lawan's mages create a bubble that entraps him and remains of his followers in it. The merman swears revenge and already plots to gain the throne. Chainer's death haunts Kamal, and he takes the Mirari as promised. How he will keep it safe from the Cabal, the Order, and the thousands of others who are allured by its call is unknown to him. He attaches the artifact on the pommel of his sword and prepares to leave the city. Several fighters challenge him on the way out, confirming his suspicions that he must now defend it from innumerable foes. He manages to reach his home in the Pardic Mountains anyway. Laquatus, in the meantime, is still trapped in the underwater bubble created by Lawan's mages. Although he can leave, the bulk of his forces cannot, greatly hindering his claim to the Mare throne. He starts diplomatic relations with the Order and the Cabal, hoping to gain their support against the Empress, but she has moved faster than he did, and the two organizations have already made deals with her. Frustrated by the lack of progress, Laquatus and Burke go personally on the mainland to retrieve the Mirari, while commanding some of his troops to expand the tunnel network beneath Otaria until they reach the Crozon Forest. He is hoping to ambush his enemies with these soldiers. Kamal returns to his Auror tribe, where he thinks he will be safe for a while. The Mirari, however, shows him that many already mobilized to take the artifact from him. Under the influence of the orb, he decides to unite the barbarian tribes to bolster his defenses against the judgment of the dwarf Balthor and his sister Jessica. He calls the champions from across the mountains, called the Elite Eight, to duel him and prove his strength. A tournament is set up and Kamal displays excessive power and no restraint. Balthor and Jessica try to hold him back, but it's clear that the Mirari has a nefarious effect on him. No one is able to withstand him, and he proclaims himself champion. Many, however, refuse his rule on the grounds that he has gone mad with power, plunging the tribes into civil war. Called by the Mirari, an Order contingent led by Commander Isha herself and a Cabal battalion with Braids at its head make their way towards the mountains. Laquatus tries to play them against each other while pretending to be a friend of both. He is greeted in the Order camp, but he still tries to gain the favor of the Cabalists. In the Auror village, Kamal prepares to fight the dissidents. Jessica is convinced he must be stopped at all costs, and talking with Balthor, they agree the only way to do so is to steal the Mirari from him. The dwarf proposes to do it himself, but Jessica disagrees, as she has already been banished for quarreling with Kamal, and thus she has nothing to lose, while Balthor's betrayal would be met with harsher punishment. To prevent him from interfering, she knocks him out and then tries to take the sword with the orb. Kamal discovers her and battles her. News comes, however, that she has killed Balthor, and the enraged barbarian viciously impales her with his Mirari sword, leaving her barely alive, but with an incurable, burning chest wound that gradually ate away at her. Balthor arrives to clear the misunderstanding, and Kamal realizes his tragic mistake. And in that moment, Cabal troops attack the village. The barbarians loyal to Kamal and the rebels unite to fight the invaders, while the pit fighter grieves over the body of his slain sister. The barbarians are victorious, and they decide to put the civil war to the side to defend themselves from the Cabal and the Order. Determined to redeem himself, Kamal resolves to bring Jessica to Satan, deep in the Crozon Forest, to cure her. Balthor comes with him and carries the Mirari sword, despite the barbarian's decision never to wield it again. The Cabal and the Order, led by Laquatus' magic, close in on the duo as they reach the edge of the forest. The merman and Burke manage to engage them, but Balthor holds them back as Kamal ventures in the woods. Burke is nearly indestructible, but the dwarf unleashes a great spell that kills them both. Laquatus is enraged by Burke's death and tries to contact his troops in the forest to ambush Kamal. However, he discovers he has been betrayed by other mermen who see his rule as tyrannical and that his forces have been wiped out by Lawans. Without soldiers, he returns to the Cabal and Order camps and manages to forge a flimsy alliance to follow the barbarian into the forest. Kamal brings Jessica to Satan, who confirms that the situation is dire. He advises the barbarian to talk to Thriss, an enlightened Nantuko who lives in the heart of Krosan, while he cures his sister. Kamal makes his way to the druid, who gives him substantial help in controlling his strength and desires, and makes him able to communicate with nature. The joint Cabal and Order contingent, on the meantime, has a very hard time in the forest. Harassed by Nantuko and divided by mistrust, the alliance is extremely fragile. An unknown assailant begins to attack the camps, and the Order leader is killed, but the blame is given to the Cabal. Laquatus tries to keep them together, but the Cabal leave. Frustrated, the merman ventures alone to meet some of his troops that have escaped the slaughter. Isha, Braids, and the representatives of Lawan's empire converge in the Order camp and reveal that Laquatus was plotting against everyone and try to play them against each other. They decide to leave the former ambassador to his own devices and abandon the quest for the Mirari. The merman finds out he has no support and with his small handful of soldiers tries to retrieve the Mirari once and for all. Thriss warns Kamal that Laquatus is reaching Satan's house where he has left the Mirari sword. The barbarian interrupts his training to run and defend it. He easily dispatches the merman's soldiers, but an unknown assailant proves harder, for he is Balthor, zombified by Braids and instructed to kill Laquatus. However, since a part of Burke is lodged within him, he is conditioned to follow the former ambassador's orders, and Kamal, crying, ends his undeath. Laquatus mocks him, and Kamal strikes him. The merman dies, pinned by the sword. The barbarian's training has proved useful, though, as when he unleashes the orb's power to kill his foe, it is no longer a vision of fiery battle and destruction, but growth and peace. Out of Laquatus's corpse, flowers and grass grow rampant, and the forest is rejuvenated. Kamal is confident the quest for the Mirari, now protected by the renewed Krosan forest, is over. And that's it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the story. We haven't heard the last of Kamal and Jessica, so look forward to that. And we certainly haven't heard the last of the Mirari. Anyway, thank you guys all for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you all for watching this episode of MTG Mastery. If you guys are interested in any of the other videos in this series, whether it be lore, draft strategies, pack analysis, or the pack openings themselves, go ahead and click on the annotations now to be taken to playlists with the full list of all uploaded content of that type. Thank you guys all for watching. Rate, comment, and subscribe.